Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Test, Optimize, and Scale. I have been looking forward to recording this episode for some time. Have Josef Holm on the pod today. Looking forward to go in depth about Josef's whole history in reward crowdfunding, the LA and really international conference circuit with equity crowdfunding, with various types of digital assets, Investor of the Year awards based on his portfolio, and into new projects. Some exciting ones we're going to dive into today. Josef, thanks for taking time to hop on the show.
Hey, Jason, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And appreciate you taking the time from Dubai to tune in today. When I first met you, you were here in Santa Monica, in Los Angeles, working on very successful with Crowdster, a suite of crowdfunding tools at that time. But I know your history began in Austria and wanted to familiarize listeners, viewers, with your path. Thought we could start out conversations there.
Yeah, sure. So I was born and raised in Austria, but I've spent more than half my life abroad. Spent about 10 years in California, which is where we met. And for the last 2.5 years, I've been living here in beautiful Dubai. So, taking it back to the beginning, I actually just talked about this the other day. It's a funny story how, I'm a high school dropout. I dropped out of high school at 17. I really just couldn't sit still and learn stuff that I knew I would never need again in life, right? So me and my best friend, we would always skip class to work on business plans and dream up big ideas, and all of that, just inevitably resulted in me being kicked out. And I remember the headmaster telling my parents that your son will never amount to anything and he will probably end up in prison. And, in hindsight, not believing in me, I think, was the best gift that school could have ever given me, because, success is the best revenge, as they say. And it's been, motivating me throughout my career more than money or power or anything else I ever really could have, right? So that's how my story started. I've been traveling all over the place. I got into internet marketing very early on. I launched my first internet startup in 1998. That did about $50 million in online sales, predominantly in the affiliate marketing space. So, it was really cool. I was young, free, and single. All I needed was my laptop. So I kind of moved my finger on the map and was like, oh, Australia seems really far away. Let's move there. And just moved there for a year, right? And then, then to Berlin, and then to Switzerland, and then to Panama. And from Panama, I started to travel to California and really fell in love with it. And eventually ended up moving there after I'd met my wife. And we spent 10 beautiful years there. It was a great time. Santa Monica, beautiful place, as you know, right on the beach, amazing weather, still have great friends there. And that's where I got into crowdfunding. And I was, fascinated by the idea of raising capital from your future clients. I was just, I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute, this makes a lot of sense. But fast forward a little bit, after, dabbling in the whole space, I realized that what most crowdfunding campaigns are lacking is an audience and the right tools to actually become successful. And that's really how the idea for Crowdster was born. And as you've mentioned before briefly, Crowdster was a crowdfunding marketing SaaS. I meanwhile sold it, but it had a really cool set of do-it-yourself marketing tools, from automated Twitter marketing, when the Twitter API was still a lot more flexible. You could do more fun stuff with it. We had a very large backer database, made it very easy to reach out to existing backers. We had things like press release submission tools and things of that sort. And in the end, Crowdster helped over 10,000 Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns become successful to a certain degree. It was our contribution. So I was very happy about this. And it's also a segue into what I've been doing for the last few years, which was the crypto and blockchain Web3 space. Because as you know, we had the Crowd Invest Summit at the LA Convention Center, which was the biggest industry event of its kind. And in 2016, I think it was, all of a sudden nobody wanted to talk about crowdfunding anymore. Like all the speakers were like, we do tokens, we, you know, ICO, let's talk about ICOs. And we're like, oh, okay, wait, there is something on the horizon here. And you know, we were quick on our toes always, as you have to be as a startup entrepreneur, and we rebranded the Crowd Invest Summit to the Crypto Invest Summit. And that year, I think it was 2017 or 18 when things really blew up, right? Like that was the year we had Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak as a keynote speaker. That was the year when the lines were like wrapping around the convention center waiting to get into the conference. I literally remember people like pushing the security guards to the side and trying to make their way into the main conference room, because that was, you know, it was the beginning. It must have been 2017, you know, the beginning of that first like major bull market. And those were really exciting times. You know, that was also the time when we met Tim Draper, and he started to speak at our conferences, and you know, later became a partner with him, launched Draper Goren Holm, a Web3 venture studio and fund based in Southern California. And that fund has invested in over 40 or so startups. We fully deployed the fund earlier this year, and that's when I realized that I'm a startup guy. You know, I'm not a VC. I want to be in the trenches. I want to build product and you know, just scale something from the ground up. That to me is a lot more exciting than being a venture capital investor. So I kind of left that part of my career behind me. I'm very grateful for it. It was a fantastic time. But I'm back in the entrepreneurial trenches now with my latest startup, Rewardable, based out of Dubai. It's an engagement marketing platform, customer acquisition play, essentially connecting verified users to verified brands through reward campaigns in the Web3 space. So I guess that's a pretty good like overview from Jesus, like when I was 17 to now.
And thank you for taking us all the way back. Had similar experiences in school myself, and like you said, it was a driver to hear, hey, he's not going to amount to anything.
And
Yeah,
it's for anyone listening.
yeah.
You every no is a fucking opportunity. I'm sorry, am I allowed to swear? It's an opportunity to grow. You turn every no into an opportunity to prove them wrong.
Mhm.
Don't let it put you down. Don't get demoralized. A no means go back to the drawing board, improve
Yes.
your pitch, improve your story, and then go back. But no never really means no. It's mostly just people not understanding what they're talking about. And especially when you're talking to VCs, you have to realize that most VCs do not understand what they invest in. They're all sheep. They all follow the next big shiny object. They're all FOMO driven. So don't let anyone ever put you down with a no.
And this is coming from someone who invested in over 40 projects just with that last fund, had worked with thousands of the top VCs, the top funds. And yes, I believe breakdowns lead to breakthroughs, meaning in that no, as you said, is an opportunity, going back to the drawing board, something happens where if it's just too easy and connecting or even just an autopilot, you're not going to get anywhere.
No, I mean, of course, you know, and an active VC will probably never admit to this, right? But it's easy for me, also because I'm a tech guy and I have more of a technical background than most of the VCs. And generally, I just like to speak my mind, and it's the truth. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs give up and take no's personal and start doubting themselves and you know, fall into that trap of believing everything a VC said. And then, you know, all you have to think about is, I mean, people called Twitter a stupid idea. People called Facebook a dumb idea. People thought, you know, Airbnb was never going to work. You know, I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? of VCs just having been like very, very wrong.
Well, the question mark is still out for some of those companies, right? No, just joking. But I couldn't
No,
agree with you more. They are often put on this pedestal, and there's different roles, and the roles are very important. That's not to downplay VCs at all, but it is a numbers game, and sometimes it's a matter of speaking to the right volume of them, staying positive. Like you said, the one prospect may not be fully understanding the idea, but that next conversation, it could all connect. And a saying I've been referencing more and more: everyone wants to be first to be second. That VC comes on, validates the deal, suddenly everyone wants to hop in the next day, the next week, the next month. I've seen it many times. So I think it's a great thing to point out that you can't take other people's opinion as your own, and you could use it to shape, but have to keep pushing it through.
if anyone ever wants to like question any of this, all I have to say is FTX, okay, where everyone forward into a deal that no one did proper due diligence on. And look, I'm going to sort of split the VCs into two categories, right? There are the ones that actually have an entrepreneurial background.
Absolutely.
They've launched their own startup. They know what they're talking about. Those are great to have on your team. But then you have the other group that's like, glorified accountants and bankers, people who really don't know anything about startups. And then having these people tell you, oh, I think you're too early, or you think you don't have this, or you don't have that. And you're like, you have never done it. How dare you judge a startup that you don't know anything about, and you don't know how to do it yourself, if you don't know the craft, you know what I mean? So this is obviously up to the entrepreneur to make those decisions, who they want to pitch to. But not all money is equal. Generally, I would say that, the value add from VCs other than money is very, very limited. Many of them try to sell themselves as, oh, I'm going to open all these doors for you. I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to do all these things. Yeah, nah, it's just not, typically just not happening, right? Some of them are the shining examples that actually make a big difference. I'm going to give you one example for the audience,
Please.
of what I always thought was very important to me in my time as a VC. When I get an email from an entrepreneur asking for funding, I will respond in a timely manner, even if it's a no. I always hated those who like just ignore you, and you can email someone and over again and you never get a response. I think it's very, very rude, and it casts a bad light sort of on the entire industry, because you're still talking to a human being, right? Like, see, there's just certain characters out there who think because they control the checkbook, there is something better, but they're not. We're all people. We should all treat each other with respect. And because I was an entrepreneur for so much longer, I always try to give people that respect. And even if it's a no, at least at least you can move on. At least you're not waiting for me to get back to you for 4 weeks. You know what I mean? So those are the little things that to me were always very, very important as a VC, because I understand what it feels like to be on the other side of that email.
And I speak with founders every day that are waiting to hear back from that VC, especially when the conversation's further along. I mean, I think everyone has some level of filter of messages coming through their LinkedIn or email. I get a massive amount contacting me about, outreach services or whatever it is daily. I try to, put no's or direct to the right people as well there too. But definitely when it's further into that communication where, we're preparing this just for this VC, and okay, we submitted it and it's been a few months, we haven't heard back, but we're hoping for, professional courtesy and just that back and forth and the ability to navigate those conversations from both sides.
You can say thanks, but no, not interested, not a good fit. But treat people with respect, and at least take the 30 seconds it takes to say no, this is not a good fit for us. I think that's very important.
I'll often see a goal put out there versus the answer no, of, oh well, when you're to this point, And then, if the
Well, yeah, I
brand
mean,
gets there.
make no mistake, the reason why many of them don't say no is because very few VCs are actually capable of doing proper due diligence.
Mhm.
So they don't want to say no to you because they may be wrong. Someone else may actually come along and do proper due diligence, and then they want to still get in on that deal. And so they don't give you a clear answer because they don't want to close that door,
Sure.
right? But that's just it's just bad business practice, in my opinion.
And I've seen VCs come on with a single area of expertise and serve a very effective part of the team there, in the sense of, you said, hey, I have a technical background, I can look at these different pieces, I've built crowdfunding softwares, I've built these platforms, I can put this together, so when I look at a model, I can tell you what's garbage, what really has some weight to it. I get asked to evaluate ad tech deals from different funds that we're friends with, and if they have no growth model, I don't care how great their technology is, I can just see all the walls they're about to hit, working with agencies or going brand direct or with startups or whatever it may be. I know the rollout model more than, beyond just the product. So having that single area of expertise, have you been able to see that when you get presented different platforms and knowing with your background, yeah, this isn't going to work?
Oh, dude, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for more than half of my life, right? Like I need 5 minutes in a room or on the call with someone, and I know if they're full of BS or not, and I can have a pretty good sense if they can actually, follow through on what they're promising. Typically, in the pitch, the more complicated and complex the pitch is, the more fancy words and language they use, the more these are all signs that there isn't much there. But it's one of the reasons, even at DGH, we were mostly leading the deals that we invested in because we could actually look at the tech, we can talk to the founders, we can read smart contracts. We could actually really dive into the tech side of things. I have a decade-long experience in marketing and audience growth and all these things that come in very handy as well. Some founders don't like to hear what you say. There really are those who just want you to write a check and then shut up. That's not how early stage investing works, though. It is a partnership, and I think in a partnership, both parties should have a say. Obviously, only if you know what you're talking about. But that exchange of knowledge, information, experiences, and ideas is very crucial to success, for both parties. So this is absolutely vital, and you can't go without it. But most VCs just want to, they want to follow in around, write a check, and then wait for an exit.
So what would you look for when building that partnership? And maybe this leads into what you've created at Rewardable, but I think it's very interesting. You've seen companies, founders that you knew were far off, to say it politely. What would you look for to know, hey, this is a good opportunity, this is primed for growth? What were the indicators?
Well, first of all, if they can explain what they're doing and why it makes sense in 2 sentences, I'm listening. If it takes 5 minutes of rambling and using all kinds of fancy terminology and words that no one understands, then they're trying to hide something. Most ideas are very basic. The good ideas are very easy to explain. And that's usually the first indicator. Then I look for things like, it's the weird things that many people, I think, don't really think about. But like for me, if a founder has a couple of kids and a mortgage, check, because that guy has to hustle. If it's a 22-year-old showing up, to the meeting in a Maserati, I'm like, yeah, probably not. But for example, failed founders. There's a complete misconception about failed founders. I love failed founders. Someone who's already fallen on their face, picked themselves up again, and tries again is someone I want to invest in. It makes a lot of sense, right? Because the experience that they have already gained on someone else's dime, I won't have to pay for again. So those are things that people get wrong, and they try to hide that they had a failure. I lead with failure. Just like in this interview, I'm a high school dropout. I got kicked out, but you know what? It's a badge of honor. I'm proud of it now because it made me the person I am today. And every failure I've failed, not everything I touch turns to gold. No one does. It's not realistic to even expect that, right? But the ability to pick yourself up and to try again and again and again is what sets apart the winners from the losers. Full stop.
And just for listeners to understand some of the investments that Josef has made, I heard how large the numbers, the exits, some of the traction that these groups got. His conferences, I was a part of. I was part of that line around the block, even with my speaker badge trying to get in. We were even able to participate in some of the
Well, I'm
advertising.
sorry, that's bad organization on our part, because with a speaker badge, you should not have to wait in line. So I apologize for
But I understood the demand.
But man, we were completely overwhelmed. We didn't expect so many people to show up, and they're like, there's like, a couple of thousand people who haven't even bought a ticket yet because we were sold out. They just decided to show up, and they wanted to buy a ticket, at the venue, and we weren't set up for that at all. I mean, I love the chaos because, I kind of thrive on that kind of stuff, but it was wild.
It was wild for me because I heard you talk about the conference as an idea. We're talking about founders and bringing things out of the gate at a lunch here in Santa Monica. And you said, we're going to do this Crowd Invest Summit. There's no proper conferences in equity crowdfunding. And it came to life. And it was huge. And I remember that next year when the panels started switching to cryptocurrency. I was on some of those panels, and how you pivoted, you shifted, you got your pulse on the market. You rolled out the Crypto Invest Summit. I was mentioning we were actually part of the advertising. There was, crypto barriers for launching ads. I saw the conversion rates. I saw how fast this was all shifting, as well as exhibitor demand. We had clients telling us, "Oh yeah, we're exhibiting with Josef and the team over there." I saw this all firsthand. And then as it evolved in the LA Blockchain Week and bigger, and the relationships, now you have the fund, you're participating with these different groups. So I saw it all come to life, and the type of deals that you were associated with. So I just wanted to highlight that for viewers and listeners. This isn't idealistic, hey, I think this is what works with founders, as much as Josef does it, has done it, and has worked with thousands of entrepreneurs along the way, as well as the top VCs.
Yeah, it's been good times. So remember when we had an overflow of exhibitors? We had so many exhibitors sign up last minute that we couldn't fit them on the expo floor anymore. So we put them all in the hallway, and then the fire marshal came and he wanted to shut us down.
I remember going to rooms upstairs, going all over the place. Yeah, that was good times. All the events were very well done. You guys did the Security Token Summit and different premium type of get-togethers as part of it. It was very impressive. The largest investor blockchain events I've seen here in Los Angeles, maybe the US as a whole, that I've participated in. It was always impressive. But where is the market going? Because I know there's been some time since then, and that leads into Rewardable. But you brought up FTX. We had a lot of brands stop advertising with us around November of 2022. They didn't want to appear next to articles content around, the classic crypto scam type content, but with actual, aggressors, bad actors that they were pointing at. The market is picking back up here, but what's going to change this time around? What is going to create more trust in the space? I love the concept of verified users and verified brands as a marketer, because we never know, hey, are we reaching a bot? Are we reaching someone that's actually going to respond and have an impact towards this campaign? What are the missings in this space, and where is it going?
So look, I mean, this goes basically to the reason why I launched Rewardable is because in my time as a VC, I've seen also funded startups in our space, but it's not just true to Web3. This is true to Web2 and any kind of tech startup out there. It's very, very difficult to scale from 0 to 1,000 to 5,000 and 10,000 users. It's very expensive. In the Web3 space, you have marketing tools like airdrops. I was always a great fan of airdrops. I thought it's a fantastic means of actually engaging an audience, but the way that they've been conducted just didn't work. You know, you have the twofold problem, right? On the one side, you have non-verified brands, often bad actors, setting up, you know, phony airdrop campaigns, and you connect your wallet. Next thing you know, your wallet's drained, you're out of your money, and all your assets are gone, right? So that's not a desirable outcome for anyone, obviously. On the other hand, you have users that are unverified, which means you have a lot of bot users, you have a lot of fake accounts, you know, people creating 10,000 wallets to participate in one single airdrop and things of that nature. So none of that really worked. But I do believe in rewards marketing, right? Like engagement-based marketing, where you complete a task, you download an app, you sign up to a website, and as long as I know, oh, you're Jason, you live in Southern California, you know, these are the details around your persona. The more data you share with me, the more valuable that data becomes, obviously, and the higher value rewards I can unlock for you, right? Because advertisers are willing to pay for this. As long as they know that the person they're trying to reach is actually the person they are reaching, it's a win-win, right? So it was very straightforward. And one of the things that I've also noticed in the Web3 space is that if your user journey starts with connect your wallet here, you will never reach mass adoption. The technical friction of setting up a crypto wallet and figuring it out how Web3 works is too much. It's a showstopper for 99% of internet users. You have to give your user the same kind of experience that they are used to from Web 2, transport that over to Web 3, and then look at Web 3 as just a technology layer that enables certain functionality in the background, right? One of the examples that I always give is, which database format, or what's the database called that Facebook runs on? Nobody knows. And guess what? Nobody cares. What people care about is that it loads quickly, it's easy to use, and I can share my photos and my videos with my friends. End of story. Web3 needs to be the same thing. There is a lot, way too much talk about, you know, this revolutionary technology and this and that, and all of a sudden you feel like you need a PhD in computer science to even participate in it. And anyone who's ever set up a crypto wallet, you know, whether it be a MetaMask or anything else, you had to deal with the seed phrases. You had to deal with storing those seed phrases. You had to deal with the anxiety that comes with the prospect of losing the seed phrases and losing access to your assets. Forget about it. Like, nobody wants to do it. I'll tell you a funny story. About 2 years ago, we have invested in a DeFi protocol on the Tezos blockchain. And I've actually taken that opportunity, and I've decided to onboard 20 friends and family to DeFi. It was a yield farm, you know, was paying great yields. I was like, this is fantastic. You know, I gave them the tokens. I was funding the entire thing. I didn't ask anyone for money, right? But I wanted to watch them set it up. So I was standing behind them. They were sitting, you know, at the laptop or computer. And then it says, connect your wallet. And they're like, well, crickets. What does that mean? I'm like, well, you need a Tezos wallet, you download it here, then you install it, and then you get the seed phrase, and then you write it all down. Make sure you don't lose it, because if you lose it, all of your money is gone.
Two-factor authentication.
It was an epiphany, because we are, you know, we're all tech geeks. And we live in this bubble, and we feel like, oh my God, yeah, of course, everybody knows how to do this. No, nobody knows how to do it. They know how to sign up to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. That's what they know. So that's why the Web3 experience needs to be just that. And that was a very long way of saying that we have designed Rewardable in a Web2 style fashion. So you sign up with your email, you verify your phone number, you can go through a KYC process that's very straightforward, easy and free to use. and you can access verified campaigns from brands that we have actually verified. So we're eliminating friction and fraud from rewards marketing.
And such a big part of the discussion when we talk about Web3 as a whole. And I really want to emphasize how you talk about mass adoption, because that's really where we need to go. That's what will really take everything to the next stages, the next levels that the technology warrants. And you're absolutely right. I try to think of my dad, who's brilliant, but at the same time, not going to have the patience, let alone the wherewithal to have all these wallets connected and this setup, that setup. When I told him about deals, he said, well, if you want to set it up, maybe, put a little bit towards it, but that trust was completely missing. And I, have clients that we worked with that were exchanges that went insolvent, not FTX, but everyone's got a wallet that they lost, whether it was cold storage or they got locked out of, if it was, on the actual platform. So being able to eliminate a lot of those question marks, being able to connect users. You've mentioned audience back in the Crowdster days, audience for what you were looking at for deal flow. Audience as this big major obstacle that founders, that then any company looking to reach a critical mass has in front of them. And it's a never ending journey. You look at the biggest brands in the world, they're fighting, they're spending billions of dollars a year just to keep that audience engaged, just to keep a decent rating on a brand study at the end of the year. So I think it's very needed for the space, influencer marketing, the top voices in social media, the top users, millions of followers, thousands of engagements. We've run campaigns with that have done little to nothing and have questioned, hey, are these real users? On the influencer side, the other side of the table, because they're great. I'm not, knocking them. They can be producing amazing results for companies, but which companies should they work with? But are they real? Can they be trustworthy? We're talking Web3. Is it a scam? Is going to be one of the top 3, if not top 10 questions. So as a marketer, I can attest to this need in the marketplace, and want to get to some questions around the show. But what made you actually do it and see this opportunity as a business? What made you say, hey, not only is this the opportunity, but this is where I'm going to focus my time. I've done the investor thing. I've done well. I'm a founder. I'm committing my life day in, day out. I know the grind. I know how many no's I'm going to have to go to get a yes. Why did you commit to go down this path? I said the word future. Maybe it's the futurist hat. Where is this going? What does the internet look like in 2030 or later? And why is Rewardable the type of platform that is going to be beneficial to brands and users, other than beyond other networks?
The reason why I chose to work in Rewardable and essentially stake my career on it is because it addresses the biggest issue that I've seen over the last 25 years in user acquisition online. I've worked in pretty much every conceivable vertical out there, okay? And the problem of fake accounts, unengaged users, and a lot of waste in ad spend is just getting worse. And now, in the age of AI, it gets even easier to spin up a 10,000, 50,000 fake user accounts to create fake engagement, but none of that is actually gonna get us anywhere. And then there's a lot of fake engagement also on Google. Google AdWords is full of fake engagement. So you're spending a lot of money on your ads, you're not getting any results. Rewardable is priced in a way that allows brands to run campaigns to acquire a verified user for less than the cost of a Google AdWords click, right? Just let that sink in. You can either spend $1.50 on a Google AdWords click, or you can spend $1 on a verified user who will not only join your website, but engage with you on social media and join your ecosystem and become a stakeholder in the community and the project and the company that you're building, which means that they have a long-term aligned interest to stick with you. The loyalty aspect to it is very, very important as well, right? Like all of these aspects went into the decision to go all in on Rewardable. I think this is going to be $1 billion company. Is it going to take me 3 years or 5 years? I don't know. But I think that the potential of this market is absolutely huge. We're just touching the first layer, which is the top funnel of user acquisition, right? Like, so we haven't even started to talk about the loyalty aspect of it. We haven't even started about talking about, what happens when users can share more data and they can control the data they share with you. But it's all in a manner that they can give and revoke permission for all kinds of data. And the more data they share, the more access to different reward and loyalty programs they get, right? So the opportunities here are huge. And that's the reason why I decided to go all in.
Awesome. I'm glad we were able to go into further depth there. Wanted to make that point clear to the audience because I see the potential, and you definitely painted the picture for listeners who have already been taking notes. I know I have, and we know each other well, but still, you're throwing out invaluable tips here. It's not every day that a founder gets to hear directly from a VC that's deployed millions upon millions of capital in projects that have worked, things that were primed for that, but still haven't amounted. What can they test towards their own model, towards their own growth? This could be on the marketing side, but really just towards their own development as an organization.
The one thing that I don't see enough of now, I'm putting my VC hat back on. And I don't know who said this, but sales cure all is like, if focus on sales, focus on making some money. It doesn't have to be, large sums of money. It doesn't have to be millions and millions of dollars in sales, but, be able to run proof of concept, be able to demonstrate that someone was actually willing to put money behind your idea as a client. That goes a really long way. It's far more important than having all the technical details figured out and having the most beautiful website. Yes, UX is important. UI is also important, but not as important as sales. If you go to an investor and you can say, look, I have 5 paying clients, that changes the entire conversation. So that's the one thing I would really focus on, and that I feel that I've seen not enough people really put the emphasis on, although they should.
And even with your technical background, being able to say, hey, UX, UI, yes, but sales. And I've seen too many projects that sounded amazing, but when I spoke with them and they were looking for capital, they were in the same place 6 months later, a year later, where if they had moved to audience building, if they had the ability to do sales, be it B2B, different types of B2C, they would have far more ground to stand on, like you mentioned. What if it's not happening? What if the sales are attempted but not coming in? What if it's an investor conversation? What if just the conversion rate, the digital user sale, if you will, is not up to par? What are the best approaches towards optimization? And I find where this is really the gap, right? The entrepreneurial talent gets showcased here. What are the best ways to pivot or improve?
Look, I mean, I've seen too many entrepreneurs hide behind product development, and they just keep building and building and building. And it's sort of like there is this anxiety to go to market and try to, get sales and put yourself out there. Because sales is what a rubber meets the road. If you can get sales, that's validation. If you can't get that kind of validation, you have to try to figure out why. Am I asking for too much money? Is the product not working? Maybe the idea is bad. Maybe the market just doesn't want it. But the best market validation is sales, right? And if it's not working and you can't fix it, I'm a big fan of moving on and trying something else. There is little value in beating a dead horse, and there is little value in trying to just build your way out of it. You can't. I mean, if you knew how basic the back end of Rewardable is and how much hand cranking there is involved, and still we're getting sales, you'd be shocked, right? But you can build all that technical stuff out later. The most important thing is just to try and find someone who believes in it enough to write a check. I'm not talking about investors, I'm talking about clients, right? Because that will bring the investor checks. But that's how we'll go about it, and even if it's 5 paying clients, 10 paying clients, that really is a game changer for any startup at an early stage.
100%. It speaks loudly. What about scale? When you've found your audience and they are writing checks, how have you seen projects go from there to exponentially higher levels? What are some tips or any examples towards scale?
Well, I think scale is easy once I think, Silicon Valley calls this product market fit, right? So once you've found product market fit, that means you're getting sales through the door, people are interested in your product, you get money in the bank account, even if that money is not covering all the bills. So everybody understands that. But from that point on, you can put gasoline on the fire. From that point on, you hire people like you who can help you with marketing campaigns and get more eyeballs to it. That's another thing that I see a lot, right? A mistake that people are making is they think they can like market their way out of it. You can't market your way to product market fit. Product market fit means people actually want to give you money for your product, right? Full stop. That's it. You can't buy Facebook ads to reach that point. You can't buy Google ads to reach that point. This is something that you have to find first and then you scale. But then scaling, like I just said, really is just putting gasoline on the fire.
I want to thank you for taking the time to come on and share these recommendations, share these ideas. Again, knowing that this was in the background and this is how you were able to scale Crowdster, other projects, the conference themselves, the funds, the projects that as VC you're able to support as a fund. It's truly amazing. And it goes beyond what exists in a textbook back in that high school in Austria today. I mean, you are really at the forefront and carving out the path. You're someone I look towards for recommendations around Web3, and that's a short list that I actually follow. Whether it's your LinkedIn or anything that you've published over the years. So really do appreciate you taking the time to hop on the podcast here. And want to ask, what final thoughts do you want to leave listeners with today? And what is the best way for them to get on Rewardable and get in contact, get more information from Josef Holm?
I think we've covered a lot. First of all, thanks for having me on, Jason. You've been, a friend for so many years now, not just in this industry, but also on a personal level. I appreciate you very much. And I see, the great work that you guys are doing at DNA. Is always something that I look towards when I, need anything in the crowdfunding space and help with marketing in the US. So the respect and the appreciation is very much also on my side and mutual. What I think, what the most important thing I tell entrepreneurs is always the same thing, right? Like the guy who is successful, the only thing that sets him apart from the guy who's failed is just to get up and dust yourself off one more time. If you're crazy enough to want to be an entrepreneur, which I think is like a some kind of psychological disease, because it's a painful, lonely, very difficult and unrewarding process until you become successful. But if you want to do that, you just have to get really good at getting punched in the face and not giving up. And everybody gets punched in the face. I still get punched in the face every day. And anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. And we all make mistakes. We all fail. The only difference between success and failure is to keep going. And I think that's the essence of being an entrepreneur, is to just not give up.
Want to echo that. Definitely recommend listeners get in touch with Josef, with Rewardable, and dust yourself off one more time. Whether it's a small project, a small obstacle, whether it's a new venture from a big loss, be that failed founder that's learned and really resonates with VCs, as Josef's talking about. Josef, thanks again. Really appreciate it. one of my
Thank
favorite
you
discussions
so
to
much.
date here.
So, and anyone who is interested in Rewardable, go check out rewardable.app. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Josef Holm, or Twitter, or I'm pretty easy to be found anywhere on social media. So always happy to answer questions and help out some fellow entrepreneurs. Don't be shy to reach out. Thank you so much for having me, Jason. This was fun. We should do it again.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Maybe next time in person in Dubai, or next time you're in Southern California here.
I would love that. Your visit to Dubai is overdue.
It will happen. And want to thank listeners, viewers for tuning in. I would definitely take Josef up on that offer. He will give you his straight perspective, whether it's on the industry or your project, as he said, over an email. And I've seen it towards the state of the vertical as a whole. Thanks again, Josef. We'll see everybody next time.